Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking the video out. Today we have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and discuss. Some of the topics we're looking at: a new PS5 Dualsense with haptic feedback in the analog sticks. We have a rumor that apparently a new Iron Man game may be in development. EA is coming out and letting us know that they still really care about single player games. And we also have a really cool look at God of War, the first one being remade in Unreal Engine 5. So before we dive into these topics, guys, do me a favor. If you do end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. Really helps them out more than you know. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you feel so inclined, consider becoming a channel member by hitting that join button. You get access to some exclusive perks, and it really helps me out. So take a look at that, but we're going to dive into the first topic, which talks about a potential new PS5 DualSense that offers haptic feedback with analog sticks. Reading from PlayStation Universe, it says Sony Interactive Entertainment has filed a patent indicating the PS5 DualSense controller may receive an updated version that includes haptic feedback analog sticks. The new patent suggests that the controller could have an upgrade that features a non-Newtonian fluids to allow for hydraulic resistance for the analog sticks. However, as with any patent, this doesn't necessarily mean that such an upgrade will happen, and like any company, Sony files many patents, not all of which come to fruition. If you're wondering exactly what non-Newtonian fluids, what it's all about, it essentially refers to a fluid that changes viscosity when put under force. The idea is that the DualSense could have analog sticks that retract into the body of the pad, and pushing it down will create a level of resistance like the adaptive triggers. And yes, you can click the analog sticks down on the current model, but this would be the next step forward in immersion for the PS5 DualSense. So I thought that this was actually really interesting because it definitely seems like something Sony will try to achieve and bring out. I mean, we look at how much of a success and how much of a hit the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback were with the DualSense. I remember when the PS5 was first rolling out and being talked about, this was really something that dominated a big part of the conversation and really, I think, separated the PS5 from, say, the Xbox Series X, where people were getting their hands on this controller for the first time and they're like, wow, this actually makes a pretty significant difference. Maybe not to everybody, but I would argue that to most people who've used the DualSense, they will tell you, like, yeah, it's no joke. It actually really does add another layer. And so being able to kind of, get another integral part of the controller, that being the analog sticks, and adding that type of, feedback and making it another layer deeper, it sounds pretty cool. So we'll have to see if that's something that comes out. I do want to say I could see that being something that is going to be saved for maybe the PlayStation 6 potentially, only because I don't know that that's something that Sony would just in the middle of the generation be like, by the way, we're adding haptic feedback into the analog sticks now. That sounds like it could be a PS6 feature. Moving to the next topic, though, we are getting official confirmation via Insomniac Games Twitter that Spider-Man Remastered is Steam Deck verified. As we know, Spider-Man Remastered is getting ready to launch on PC, and I'm sure it's going to do really well for both Sony and Insomniac, but I'm sure that many Steam Deck owners were also curious if this was a game that they would be able to play. And it's always interesting to talk about this because we know that Sony had the PSP, they had the PS Vita, and they've seemingly given up on handhelds, right? Instead, this seems to be the direction they're going in, where as they are taking some of their games and putting them onto PC, there's also ways for people to now play these PlayStation Studio titles on the go. I just think that some PlayStation fans are not too happy about the fact that Sony is not providing a way for them to do it themselves, right? But still, I think that a lot of people are actually really happy about this. And let me know if you're somebody who does own a Steam Deck. Is this something that appeals to you? If finding out that you can play these games on your Steam Deck, does it incentivize you to maybe want to go replay them or something along those lines? Let me know. Moving on to the next topic, we are talking about what could be a new Iron Man game. So reading from PlayStation Lifestyle, it says a new Iron Man game is rumored to be in development at Electronic Arts, according to known insider Tom Henderson. This is in response to another rumor by Giant Bomb's Jeff Grubb on the Game Mess Mornings podcast, where he said that EA is making another Marvel game that's single player in addition to an alleged Black Panther game. That said, Henderson says that he, quote, never had anything concrete to fully report, end quote, and so he's not sure if this Iron Man game is real or not. As mentioned in Henderson's tweet, this is a wild rumor. The chances of this coming true are currently low, although Henderson has a strong track record. Marvel games are not guaranteed to be successes, as we've seen with Square Enix attempts with the Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy. Despite the latter game receiving solid critic scores, EA would be doubling down on the risk of a Marvel licensed property if this rumor is indeed right. That said, the idea of a single-player Iron Man game from the publisher isn't too far of a leap. And what's really interesting when you think about an Iron Man game from EA specifically is you think of Anthem. Now, we know Anthem was a colossal failure for EA, but one of the aspects of that game that people did enjoy was the way you would fly around in the suits, right? And it really was very reminiscent of Iron Man. And I think actually at the time, a lot of people were saying, man, it would be really cool to get an Iron Man game where you could kind of fly around like this. And so maybe this is kind of where, you know, we could potentially see a winning formula here, depending on who is developing this Iron Man game. I mean, it's interesting because as I said, we look at what Insomniac Games does for these Marvel games, and people have the utmost confidence in Insomniac. If they're going to make a Marvel game, whether it's Spider-Man, Wolverine, or something else in the future, we're pretty confident it's going to be amazing. With EA, we don't know that. We have seen failures, as this article points out, but it's hard not to get a little bit excited at the prospect, right? If you are a fan of these characters or of Marvel, an Iron Man game, a single-player one, possibly open world, done right, AAA. I mean, look, again, I know EA, their track record is really not that great. I mean, it's kind of up and down, but when they get it right, they can get it right. And when I think about a Black Panther game and possibly an Iron Man game, my hope is that they would definitely get it right. My hope is that they would look at Insomniac and take a lot of notes, because that's honestly, in my opinion, what they need to do if these games are going to be successful. But still, this is a rumor. I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. We don't know if, you know, there is actually a second EA game. This is what Jeff Grubb is claiming, and we certainly don't know if it's an Iron Man game. As Tom Henderson is saying, he's really not sure. That's kind of just what he's been told, but he doesn't have any concrete evidence. So I guess at this point, I'm going to leave it to you guys. What do you think? Do you think it's maybe interesting? Maybe EA has struck a pretty significant deal with Marvel to create multiple single-player games. I mean, I know that most of you listening to this are single-player fans, so, you know, is this something that you would be excited for? Is it something that you're hoping is true? And, you know, I will just say this. I really like Iron Man, so I kind of do hope it's true, right? I think it would be really cool to get a AAA Iron Man game, and I would just be hopeful that EA wouldn't do something to ruin it. But we are going to continue talking about EA because they are confirming that they still really care about single-player games. They're really important to them. Reading from PlayStation Lifestyle once again, it says EA has reaffirmed that single-player games are still a, quote, really, really important part of the overall portfolio, end quote, despite an ill-advised tweet that seemed to imply otherwise at the start of July. While live service still account for a sizable chunk of EA's financial results, the publisher certainly isn't intending to stop single-player games anytime soon. Single-player games fulfill player motivations that live service games might be unable to do. These motivations are things like inspiration, escape, social connection, competition, self-improvement, and creation. EA CEO Andrew Wilson explained during their latest earnings call, as transcribed by Seeking Alpha, that, quote, the creation of worlds and the building of characters and the telling of stories is really important in the fulfillment of some of those motivations, end quote. Despite EA's continued confidence in single-player games, they also admitted that live service games made up 70% of their business over the past 12 months. The company not only intends to tell incredible stories, but they want to merge those with tremendous online communities. This attitude is likely to be the reason why the new Skate game will be a free-to-play live service game, breaking away from the traditional single-player roots. Another quote is, "We think this represents one of the biggest and strongest opportunities we have to build a global online community deeply engaged in a world that involves creativity, both from us, from them, experiencing what starts out as skateboarding and almost certainly reaches more deeply into the cultural sensibilities of a generation." So as we thought about that, we really took a step back and evaluated how best we deliver that. So a couple of things here. I know we're talking a lot about EA, and I think it's really good that they're coming out here and making it clear that they still care about single player games. It's a very smart thing for them to do. And so hopefully we will see more single player games revealed by EA. But this gets me thinking about Sony a little bit, because EA is one of the biggest video game publishers in the world, right alongside Sony. People don't look at EA the same way they look at Sony, right? People do not think about EA when they think about quality, narrative-driven single-player experiences. That's not to say that EA doesn't deliver some of these. They do, but I guess what I'm trying to say is Sony kind of really outshines EA by a lot in this area. So when we think about Sony pursuing live service, I think it's actually a good sign that when we look at EA, right, and they say that 70% of the money we're making is coming from live service games, and yet they still have to come out here and really emphasize the importance of single player games, and apparently they're greenlighting more single player games. I think that's a great sign. I do, because again, EA is not Sony, and even they are coming out here. Even the company that you would think would be most inclined to abandon single player and be done with it, they're not. Instead, they're coming out here saying, no, it's important. And this, I think, speaks to just the market itself, the gamer, and how the gamer will always want the single player experience. It doesn't matter how many awesome multiplayer or live service games there are, or terrible ones for that matter. The gamer's always going to want a single player experience. There's always going to be that that portion of the audience that will need to be, I think, acknowledged, and there will need to be games made to satisfy that audience. And so I guess I just kind of wanted to say this because it gives me a lot more hope that regardless of what happens with Sony's live service endeavor, I don't think we have to worry about single player from them. But moving on to the final topic of this video, I wanted to show you guys something really cool that I stumbled across. Original God of War Remake powered by Unreal Engine 5 looks incredible. That's what the headline on this PlayStation Lifestyle article reads. And it says, while Kratos might have left his old life behind in the God of War reboot, that hasn't stopped fans from thinking about his original adventures, where he's worked his way through the Greek gods. One such fan, Teaser Play on YouTube, has been working hard on a concept trailer for what the original God of War would look like if it was remade using Unreal Engine 5. At 2 minutes and 31 seconds in length, the unofficial God of War Remake trailer embedded provides a gorgeous showcase of what a phenomenal remake could look like if it was remade using Unreal Engine 5. UE5 features like Lumen, Nanite, Ray Tracing, and MetaHuman all combined together to make for an incredible presentation. Creator Teaser Plays explains that they tried to humanize Kratos' face as much as possible, like in the 2018 version, and also tried to bring the camera closer to the character. The aim of the trailer is to give the overall picture of a possible remake and clarify the expectations of the fans from it for developers. Teaser Play makes it clear in the video's description that they aren't looking to infringe on any trademarks, stating that it's just a concept trailer to show the power of Unreal Engine 5 and that they have no plans to release the remake. Hopefully, God of War developer Santa Monica Studio and publisher Sony Interactive Entertainment look upon the fan-made trailer with kindness, as it's clear that a lot of work has gone into its creation. And so, yeah, I had to show you guys this because it looks really cool. I think it's something that a lot of fans would actually really love to see. I don't know that it's something we'll ever get from Sony, at least not anytime soon, but nonetheless, it is always cool to see stuff like this done, and I'm happy to let everybody know that I did subscribe to PlayStation Plus Premium, and I am now in the process of playing the original God of War trilogy. I'm calling it Road to Ragnarok. I'm going to have more information on this, and I'm going to talk more about it in upcoming videos and upcoming podcasts, but, you know, I figured I would let you guys know about that. So yeah, there you go. That's going to do it for this video. I hope you did enjoy it. I hope you did find it informative. If you did, leave it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.